Well, for some, the grand final has been one and done, but for us at the Fox Footy Podcast, grand final week starts now because we froth the trade period and we'll be all over it on foxfooty.com.au. Ben Waterworth with you, alongside the utensil, Will Faulkner, Maxie Lawton, and a man who loves this time of the year, the pick 37 back in the 2001 Super Draft, and the reigning Fox Footy NFL Fantasy Champion, Leigh Montagna. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Benny. I'm not as busy as you gentlemen and not as excited, but nice to be here. It's going to be a big week.
Big time of year.
It is a big time of year. Plenty happening.
Nice to have Joey along straight out of the trading day invoice as well. But let's have a look at Gold Coast firstly, Joey. They are going to be absolutely integral to this year's AFL trade period. Potential ins of Christian Petrarca, Jamara Ugle-Hagan, and we know about their Star Academy prospects, two potentially in the top 5 this year, Will. But they're losing Braden Fiorini, Bailey Humphrey, Ben Ainsworth potentially, Connor Butterick potentially, Malcolm Roses looks like it's going to happen pretty soon as well. Plus, pick 6 could be up for grabs, and you wrote about this on Fox Footy website recently.
I did, yes, spoke about it on Sunday night on the Fox Footy Podcast, on the website, sorry. But Gold Coast for 15 years now, it's taken them that long, but they're now a destination club. And not only that, but this year they can shape the trade period. They have so many players who want to come in their door, and big key players as well. And also, you've got guys like Bailey Humphrey who are in contract. The level that they're going to demand for him to leave, if he ever did leave, would be so big. The number of picks they have as well in the draft, they've gone from in 2018, their co-captains Stephen May and Tom Lynch exiting their doors, and now they have big players like Charlie Curnow, who we knew wanted to go to Gold Coast. He was considering them. He's no longer coming there anymore, as well as John Noble, Janiarella the year before. They're a destination club. Damien Hardwick's built this from the ground up. Ironically, Bailey Humphrey, he's the mould of that player that Hardwick wants to build around. So it's kind of funny that there's trade talk about him potentially leaving Gold Coast this year. Joey, with the high list turnover they've got, is it healthy? We've got a lot of big players who want to come in, namely Christian Petrarca is the big one this year. Is it healthy to have that many players of that calibre coming in, and then having a couple who, you know, for the first time, you've got players who are leaving for opportunity and not for crisis, like we saw with guys like May and Lynch? Is it healthy? It
is slightly risky to turn over this many, but they've got to get it right. And I think if they do, it sets them up for the next 5 to 8 years. And I think they are doing it the right way. Like the guys they are letting go, and we're going to presume Humphrey stays because that's what the club's position as we sit here tonight. They're trimming the fat with guys that are fringe players that are on good salaries. When you talk about Fiorini and potentially Ainsworth and Roses, guys that they can replace with, and they're in the luxurious position of being able to replace them with first, second, third year high-end talent that are on rookie contracts. So they can get a Petrarca and take on Jamara's salary and really set themselves up with top-end talent surrounded by elite young talent, a bit like the Brisbane Lions model that we just saw won the flag with 7 kids under 22. They are in a great position and it's all set up beautifully for Damien Hardwick the next 5 years.
It's funny how one season of on-field success means that suddenly players want to go there to win. They were a moribund club, nothing. No one thought anything of them, but now suddenly they play finals, they win one out of nowhere, and now you can easily see them contending and winning one in the next 2-3 years, so why wouldn't you?
They are the sexy club of the AFL going into 2026. Yep.
And Damien Hardwick has got a massive opportunity as well to create some serious footy history, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, absolutely. Well, they've already created playing finals and now they can go one step further and they'll be knocking on the door of playing in a grand final, absolutely, you know, the next 5 years, and I'd be shocked if they didn't win one. Well,
the Crows were knocking on the door. We thought of a grand final this year, but out in straight sets, Will. They had a terrific 2025 campaign. Interestingly, though, Christian Petrarca flew over to meet with Adelaide, the famous Adelaide airport scenes as well, but he's chosen Gold Coast, and they've also in the past been linked to Clayton Oliver, but the Crows, I don't think, will be going down that path from all reports, even though I think privately conceding that they are a midfielder short. What's the situation there with the Crows?
Yeah, it was interesting. So the way that Adelaide phrased it was that they took the phone call with Petrarca. They were happy to have him come over to the facility, come to Adelaide. He wanted an extra year in his contract. You know, the Crows were a little bit up in the air about that. He's obviously since requested a trade to Gold Coast. My take on it, and I'm interested to see what you think, Joey, but Christian Petrarca is probably that little bit level up from what Clayton Oliver is, and Jack Steele is another name who's been thrown in the same midfield mould. I don't know if you want to go after, if it's not Petrarca, it's probably not Oliver and Steele from an Adelaide perspective. I think a Hugh McCluggage type player and someone from the same club is Zach Bailey, who is out of contract next year. He's a pre-agent. There's not talk about him this year, but do you save your cards for someone like Zach Bailey next year and go chips in, or are you more of someone who you think, yeah, Clayton Oliver, he's on the market, He's available. There's talk of him potentially leaving the Demons. Do you go in for him and maybe settle for someone slightly less than Christian?
Yeah, it's a good conversation, and they'll be the chats they're having. Do you just go and get someone because they're there and they are slightly better, but not the top end, or do you keep your powder dry, keep some money in the bank, keep your picks, and go and get top end talent? They'll have to weigh that up. I do agree they are a midfielder short. So if they don't go and get a Jack Steele or Clayton Oliver type, do they set Dan Curtin the task? So right, you're going to become our big-bodied mid, train him up and back him in and hope to land someone. I think while they are contending the way they are, I'd look to bridge the gap if they've got the money there. Find another complementary piece, that defensive-minded sort of inside mid that can be an upgrade on a Sam Berry, and allow Dawson and Rankin and Saligo to do their thing, and find one more mid. I think they should still be looking down that path.
Makes all the sense in the world to go now for mine. You don't win 18 games by accident. They're clearly very good, so you don't need those late draft picks anymore, especially in what we think is a very weak draft this year. They may have to use a high pick to get Archie into the club from Brisbane.
Yep.
They're still talking through whatever that trade looks like. I think the Brisbane probably wants that first round pick, but Adelaide's not going to accept that.
And there is a risk that if you wait and try and land a big fish, you don't get one at all. And then you're still stuck in the position you were 12 months earlier.
Sydney had the chance to get a big fish, potentially, with Charlie Curnow, Maxi, but I think it's been well documented that Charlie Curnow's preference is Geelong. Whether Geelong can get that deal done remains another question. But Sydney were quiet last year, potentially quiet this year if they don't get Charlie Curnow. Are they risking potentially not adding to a list that can take them towards the promised land here?
So Jai Sarong seems like a pretty good player, maybe. He played in the semi-final last year, I think, from memory, against Port.
No, he did. Yeah, he's played 10 games in 4 seasons there.
So, look, a solid addition. He's requested the trade to them.
Yeah.
So, that's nice. Players over 190 centimetres, they've acquired the last 3 off-seasons. Brodie Grundy, ruckman, so that's not helping you. Tall defence, tall forward. Aaron Francis, Joel Hamling. End of list.
Yeah.
Bunch of draftees and zone picks who haven't played games. Jack Buller, the only one who's actually played a game, but he wants to get to Collingwood anyway.
Yes.
So they have just not filled this clear void for the last 2-3 years. And we saw the absolute upside of this team in 24. Minor premiers, make the grand final. We know how good they can be, but to get over the top, they clearly need to fix this. And if they have another inactive trade period, it seems like a massive wasted opportunity.
It's obvious. If they're not improving their list dramatically, they're going backwards. The way the competition is from what we're seeing at the moment. So I think they have to go chips in to try and get Charlie Curnow. If they pay overs, so be it. But while they've got Heaney, Goulden, Warner still at the club, Heaney still at the peak of his powers, and the other players they have there, I think they need to go and try and get him. And I think they're in the window. If
If you're Carlton, does Will Hayward appease you if you're also getting a couple of first-round picks back as part of this Charlie Curnow?
The 2 first-rounders are what's appealing.
Right.
You're taking them to continue to top up before Tasmania come in and really take away the draft stocks. And then if you're getting a Will Hayward type, yes, I think that'll help them. And Carlton are in the situation now, I think they need to refresh their list. Harry Mackay on his own could still kick 60 goals next year as a full forward.
Could he actually benefit from
Probably,
Curnow
yeah.
being
We've seen him in the past.
He's a Coleman medalist.
Yeah, without Charlie Curnow there. So he can do it absolutely. And I think they've got to cut their losses, get some first-rounders and rebuild.
And you were at Marvel today, Will, and heard all the clubs come through. And Andrew Mackie essentially conceded that it's going to be hard for Geelong to acquire both Rowan Marshall, who they're very keen on, and I think rightly so, and Charlie Curnow in the same trade period.
Yeah, he did. He didn't rule it out. It was not impossible in his words, as you never would on day one. I think he said on day one of trade period, you don't rule anything out, but it's going to be very, very difficult for them. My question for you, Joey, do you part with Shannon Neal to get Curnow in your door?
No.
No?
Not for the Cats.
I think if it's not Shannon Neal, I don't know what player
Cats can't
category
get
they're going to offer because a lot of them would be fringe players and Carlton's going to ask the world. They're going to try and move heaven and earth for it, as they probably should. So, Mackie didn't put a line through it. It's going to be very, very hard. Rowan Marshall will be the big one. There has been a bit of a deficit in their ruck department. I think we probably saw that a little bit on grand final day between Oscar McInerney and Darcy Fort getting a lot the better of Reece Stanley, who obviously went in perhaps a little bit underdone, didn't have a lot of game time. But, yeah, Mackie is going to be uphill to get Curnow in his doors.
I'm trying to think who could even throw into that if you're Geelong. Ollie Henry, I mean, we know he'd get homesick being an hour away again if he goes back to Melbourne, but, that's the sort of player. He's fallen out of favour.
He has,
Cats
yes.
would be willing to shop him, you'd think.
Someone did suggest to me during the year, just keep an eye on Ollie Henry during the trade period. There hasn't been a lot of word around it yet. We know how desperate he was to get back to Geelong, but he remained on the outer towards the back end of the season. Just one final one before we let you go there, Joseph. Is it a good year for North Melbourne to take it easy during the trade period? They acquired Charlie Spargo, the premiership demon, as a free agent. Doesn't look like they're going to be too active outside of that.
Is it a good year? No, I think they would want to be active, but unfortunately, where they are at the moment, no one wants to come to them. and it's not a great year to stockpile draft picks probably either. So they're in the predicament where for them it's more internally. Culturally, they've just got to get better. They've got to learn to win. They've just got to build what they've got. They've got enough talent at the moment to be better than what they are. That's where they've got to focus. Their focus has got to lie on their pre-season, what they're doing internally.
Sorry, you go.
They're basically the poor man's St Kilda because they don't have Naz to sort of build around, which is clearly what St Kilda's entire pitch has been, and saving all this cap room. North would theoretically have a lot of cap room to spend, but maybe just no one wants to go there. Yeah.
I was at Marvel Stadium today, and Brodie Rilling spoke about what they're going to do this trade period. Are you surprised that he's ruled out the idea of going after a key defender from somewhere? I would have thought with the guys like Stephen May on the market and Lekalia, if they're not getting massive deals from other clubs, I feel like it's a deficiency they might have in their game.
Maybe they've already learnt, though. They did that with Griffin Logan, Aiden Core, and it's not really getting the job done. I think maybe put some more faith in Charlie Comben, build around him, Will Dawson.
Matt Whitlock last year.
Whitlock as well, they've drafted. So they have drafted some young stocks. So maybe they're changing tact a little bit and saying, well, we're down the bottom anyway. We're still a long way off. Let's play these kids and give them chances rather than just stockpiling some sort of ready-made veteran sort of defenders.
Keeping in mind that Whitlock is effectively the first-round pick this year because of the trade they made last year.
He's a top 5 pick, essentially, isn't he?
Yeah.
Better be good.
Yeah, it could very much work out like that.